Okay, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner Classics / Known Classics. This is episode number 1273 and Doubleshot number 1167. I got two Marvel trades. One is a library book, the other one, of course, I own. Alright? First up it is Marvel Verse Black Widow. Now you're probably thinking, what the heck is Marvel Verse? It just basically something for kids, basically, to read. Though it has some classic stuff, too. That's the only reason why I got this. This collects Marvel Adventures, The Avengers, issue 21. Along with Marvel Avengers Superheroes, issue 10, and Material from issue 17. Marvel Team 141. Marvel Comics Presents 53 and 93. And Into Heroic Age number 1. Now, simply, basically, the Marvel Avengers, in case you don't know what the heck the Marvel Adventures is, it's an all-ages imprint meant for kids. Yes, I have read it, and yes, I do know about the version that's published over at frickin' IDW. Now, why in the world that Marvel licensed the all-ages stuff to that particular company, I have no idea. Yeah. Am I interested in reading all ages stuff published by IDW? No, I'm not interested in reading it at all. If it's published by Marvel Comics, I might read it because I like the characters. If it's published by our company, don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Yes. In the case of, well, Marvel Avengers, The Avengers 21. Now, the thing with this is an alternate continuity where, get this, in this continuity, Janet Van Dyne is still finding her Avengers, but here she's referred to as Giant Girl instead of the Wasp. And also, Storm is a member of the roster. Yes, Storm. Why in the world for this roster, I have no idea. Fun fact, her joining this version of Avengers predates her joining Avengers in 2011. I'm not kidding about that. It predates by about 2 years. This probably been this the idea to add to the roster. They're showing the roster essentially for like one stork and then she quit. Because AVX. Yeah, in the case of issue 21, it's simply the Avengers versus the Crimson Dynamo, and Black Widow was the first one to find out about it. Simple just for that. As for superheroes originally was this was an anthology book set in the universe of our Avengers. The other difference, originally it was focused on spotlighting solo characters, and then it switched up to where it's a feature book for the Avengers. That's about what it is. And it's just more Black Widow stuff. Now, the more interesting books I found interesting, as the Marvel Avengers itself, I thought they were okay. I didn't think they were terrible. No, not really. The artwork is quite nice, yes. Now, Marvel Avengers, The Avengers 21, it's written by Mark Zurek, artwork by Jay Liston. Marvel Avengers Superheroes 10 is done by Paul Tobin, and artwork by Rodney Pachimi. Paul Tobin also issues 17 on Arcadia. Now you're probably asking, Nick, who the heck are these people? I have no idea because I personally am not familiar with these people. But the rest of the books, oh yeah, I'm familiar with them. Marvel Team 141 is written by Tom DeFalco. That is a familiar writer. Those are also co-written by Jim Owsley. You might be thinking, Jim Owsley, why is his name so familiar? Krista Priest. Yep. Artwork by Greg LaRouque. Co-artwork is done by Mike Esposito. Marvel Comics Presents 53, which is basically a story on Black Widow, basically from the 90s. This one's written by Fabian DeCease and artwork by Rob Liefeld. You're thinking, Liefeld? Really? Yep. And you might find this as a shocker. Marvel Comics Presents 93, Split Seconds, written by Dan Slott. You might be thinking, Dan Slott wrote for Marvel Comics way back in the early 90s? Yes. Yes, he did. I like somebody, Dwayne Turner. Like, that one, I'm not all that big familiar with this guy. It sounds like this guy might be related to Michael Turner, one of the co-creators of Witchblade. Now, who does the Heroic Age? Into the Heroic Age short story. That's done by Kelly Sue Honig, basically the woman who gave Carol Danvers identity as Captain Marvel. art by Jim McLeaf, who actually is somewhat familiar art name because he's done a lot of spy work. Yeah, in the case of Marvel Team 141, this book is simply put just... It's, well, team-up book. It's where Blackwell teams up with Spider-Man in his black symbiote suit and Daredevil for an issue. Now, as for 53 and 83, they're basically short stories set in Marvel Comics Presents the series. Those who don't know what the series is, and I've explained this once before, it was an anthology book published by Marvel Comics, lasted 175 issues originally. These 2 issues are from that run. Though you might find this interesting, though. It published 175 issues, but these issues didn't come out once a month. Oh no! These issues came out twice a month. And you're probably thinking, is this a recent phenomenon? No, Marvel experimented this back in the late 80s, early 90s. They didn't last very long. They lasted about 5 years, surprisingly. And issue 175, revived in 2008 for a 12-issue run. And then revived again, actually, just a couple years ago, lasting only about 9 issues. Total number of basically issues published by the time the final issue, the third volume finished up. Let's see, I think it was like about... I think it was like... 196. Interval Gauge, it's just basically a one-shot, basically just short stories to deal with the Heroic Age stuff. It's okay, the stuff in here. I mean, I think that what got me into reading this particular trade here is the Marvel Comics Presents stuff and the Marvel Team Up stuff and the Marvel Team Machine and Heroic Age. Those are a lot more interesting, in my opinion, over Marvel Adventure stuff. That's just how I feel about it. It's okay. I'm giving this book roughly 8.5 out of 10. Though I do love the air stuff. It is fantastic. Oh, I should probably show some artwork. Yep. Let's first off with... Well, first, Marvel Avengers, The Avengers 21. The artwork for this one is interesting to say the least. Though Iron Man looks like he's wearing his outfit, he looks like so skinny in this artwork. Like, my gosh. Oh yeah, and also they have Wolverine in his Joss Whedon attire. Yeah, that's a Joss Whedon look, along with, well, Spider-Man's on their roster. Yep. Here's artwork for issue 20 for Marvel Avengers Superheroes. It's okay. But if you're curious, though, what about the artwork for the other books in here? The books that are a lot more interesting to read. That's not Marvel Avengers. Here's the Marvel Team 141. Good classic 80s style artwork. Yes, I love this stuff. It's purely fantastic. Yeah, it's just a really interesting story that basically Spider-Man, Daredevil, and Black Widow team up taking on the Kingpin. Which is interesting. 53, which I believe... Here's the cover for it. Yes, these are the covers that during the last couple... I'd say the last year the book basically had this as the cover artwork. And that's what the covers look like. This one is done by... Let's see. This is basically a team story between... Oh yeah, this is Liefeld. Yeah, this is Liefeld's artwork. You're probably thinking, wait, Rob Liefeld and Famous Ease, as in the co-creators of Deadpool, X-Force. Yeah, that guy. No, write this one. It's actually pretty good. Though, I think a lot of people might point out, basically, how both Black Widow and Silver Sable had the same exact face. Yeah, that's Liefeld for you. Early 90s basic Liefeld is over being real lazy. The writing is still good. That was from issue 53. This is from 93. This one actually has much better artwork than Liefeld. This is Dwayne Turner's artwork. Yep. But it's overall a pretty good book. Oh, and that's for the Kelsey Honick one. That was actually the last one here. Really good work. It's shocking though, Killer Suhan, despite like writing the short story, she never wrote the Black Widow comic book. Nope, never wrote it. Because, well, currently the book is written by Kelly Thompson. Well, I think she did a good job with it. Now moving on to a different character other than the Black Widow. This is basically my second to last book for the X-Men franchise to review. This is Cable. Yes, Cable. You're probably thinking, wait, Cable got a book? Now, wait a minute. That's not Cable. That's this stupid kid Cable who was introduced in Extermination. This is true. If you're curious though, like, okay, what the heck happened and why in the world is Kid Cable here and what happened to the original one? The original one, the one that Rob Liefeld created back in the 90s, he's dead. This guy killed him. Why? Because the way Brunson wrote him, he said like, oh, you outlived your usefulness, I'm going to kill you. Oh yeah, and also here's the thing. Cable's body, the original Cable, was given to Deadpool. By the way, this book is written by Gerry Duggan, which is awesome. Artwork by Phil Noto. I think at one point some panels are drawn by Scott Kubelich. Yep. Of course, they have reference to the King Deadpool stuff in here because, of course, Deadpool makes a guest star appearance. Though I keep wondering, like, okay, I get the fact Duggan basically, the reason why he put him in here, because Duggan just wrote him prior to this. And I think him basically doing this book is actually a really good idea. Now, fun fact about the Cable comic book, per se. This is actually the first comic book for Cable in 2 years. Now, you're probably thinking, why is that? Well, Marvel did briefly revive this character in, I think it was like 2016 or 17, I think it was. It wasn't a very long run. It only lasted about, well, initially it was 5 issues. And then, the problem with the last line for Cable is that once the story arc finished the book, Marvel decided to change the creative team for the book for absolutely no reason. The first story arc was done by James Robinson, who did a fantastic job with the book. And then Ed Bronson took over the book. Yes, Ed Bronson, the guy who literally killed this version of Cable, where his run was a Marvel Legacy tie-in, which was actually really good. The last story arc mostly was just basically filling the gaps in Cable's history. That's simply what it was. Now, unlike that line, which basically kept changing the writers and, well, basically every time finishing the story, this book, not the case. Now, the cast of this book is mostly spin-off events of Fallen Angels, which, in my opinion, was an okay book per se. It's just that it's nothing about home about, and I can see why the book got canceled because no one was interested. This book is interesting because you have Gerry Duggan writing the book. Also, I think one of the reasons why because Brian Hill wrote the book. Brian Hill is a good writer, but I think people like him more for his Outsiders work than his work for writing an X-Men book. Oh yeah, and the supporting cast. You have Armor, Pixie. Oh, by the way, they had this thing where the first issue is basically Kid Cable fighting Wolverine, and he beats him. And what does he get Wolverine? A marker. Because apparently Wolverine's going marker for some reason. Don't know why. Plus, I love the fact that basically Kid Cable basically holds his gun the way that the original Cable did, which I thought was so cool. Of course, there was speculation that possibly the original Cable was alive, but not really. Also, this Cable is dating one of the Stepford Cuckoos. I'm not kidding about that. He seriously is. He's dating Emissa, I think her name is. Yeah, which makes one of 2 Stepford Cuckoos who's dating a telepath. The other, of course, I don't know which one this one. I think it was Seffi, I think it is. The one who's dating Gwen Tyre. Yep. Now, oddly enough, this Cable has nothing to do with the current X-Force team. He was part of X-Force after Extermination. Though the thing is, the team wanted nothing to do with him. Yeah, why in the world would they want to deal with the guy who killed their leader? Yep. Mostly just like Cable do his normal Cable things. This do time travel. Nope. Surprisingly, this Cable has nothing to do with time travel. You're probably thinking, wait, a Cable book and no time travel? Really? That's different. Because Cables is famous for doing time travel stuff. Because it's part of his character. I guess that they probably figured out this one doesn't time travel very much, so don't need time travel. Just have him hanging out in modern day, doing various things. Yeah, Pixie's here too, though she's drawn differently. Kind of interesting. Interesting enough to come as a Pixie. Like, prior to this book coming out, I don't think she'd been probably featured in the next book in several years. Yeah, she's one of those characters that Marvel writers just shoved to a side for no reason, because we had to focus on just the classic X-Men characters and build up new ones. Kind of like how WWE deals with their stars. This book surprisingly only collects the first 4 issues of the run, because issue 5 starts the X of Swords tie-in. Yep, and surprisingly this book is actually pretty cheap. Also, this is what that was really interesting about this book. Like, take a look at the banner. It's orange. Compared to the other books, which were green, there's the blue and purple, but this is the only one that's orange. As far as I know, there's no explained reason for this. I love the fact Phil Noto does this artwork, which is interesting to say the least, because this is one of the few books I've seen him work on. Yes, because he did work on Birds of Prey. I read that book. I had not reviewed his run Birds, but I have read it. There's also Poe Dameron, Star Wars, and Daredevil. Yes, he worked on Daredevil. Though, in my opinion, Phil Noto was for what he did for Star Wars. In my opinion, he helped save the book from cancellation, because Kieran Gillian's run kind of, in a way, put the book in a downward spiral. And plus, the artwork was so bad under some of the Roca. The replacement artist was a little better. Once Phil took over, we're like, oh yeah, this artwork is so good. And of course, well, here's like the first page you see. Wolverine fighting Kid Cable. And of course, they still have it in this ugly costume. I'm like, seriously, Marvel artist. You do know he has other costumes like this awful piece of crap. Of course, that's my opinion anyways. I've never been a big fan of the brown and yellow costume. Why? For good reason. This looks good on him. Like, I like the Jim Lee costume or the John Cassidy costume. Those costumes are good. I like those costumes because I like seeing blue. This costume is ugly. Why in the world they decided to put him in this costume again? No idea. It's kind of weird. Yep. Oh yeah, and by the way, Emma doesn't like the fact that one of her daughters is dating a son of Cyclops. Which I'm sure she probably finds awkward due to the fact she has been in a relationship with Cyclops. Yep, Cyclops is here because why not? Also, he has dinner with his awesome grandfather, Christopher Summers, aka Cornstar, which is so awesome. I give this book a 9.5 out of 10. It's a really fun book. Yeah, just really good. And that kind of, in a way, is the end of the X books. Mostly, anyway. There's actually one left. Yeah, and it's actually Giants of the X-Men, believe it or not. Yep. Aside from that, there's like no other X books left. Yeah, Giants of X-Men is the last one of the current X books prior to X of Swords. And then Senior probably reviewing this stuff afterwards. Okay? Yep. So yeah, that's it, particular view. Next view, more comic corners. This time, not 2 Marvel trade. This time it's 1 Marvel trade, 1 DC trade. And these 2 are very recently released. Yep, you'll find out what they are next. Okay, to the next video. Bye.